Welcome to the Bondi Scrapper channel. This is the internal unit of a split system air conditioner that I pulled out of the dumpster a few days back, and if nothing else I'm going to try and strip down all the plastic out off it so that I can get that into the garbage bin, and then we'll see what we can salvage from it in terms of recyclable metal. There should be some copper there. There should be a copper aluminium radiator. There should be some copper wire. Who knows what else there might be. Let's get stuck into it. First thing I do, I'm not going to film this whole thing, too boring, first thing I do is unscrew as many screws as possible to get rid of the plastic. Well, I'm about 10 minutes in. I'm using the trusty AEG power screwdriver, I suppose you'd call that, impact driver. It's not very strong, so I don't really call it an impact driver. And I've undone every screw I can, and it's going pretty well. So I ripped the foam off those copper pipes. That wasn't stuck on, it's just sleeved on, so to speak. And there's the blower motor for the fan itself, so that'll come apart in one way or another. Got all the screws out from the condenser. I don't know, what's it called? Thing with the copper and the aluminium. Someone will know. And I'm going to have to use two hands, and be careful because the aluminium can be quite sharp. But two hands to get that out of the final bit of plastic. But so far we've got a pile of plastic like that. We've got a little bit of metal, ferrous metal like that. And we've got a copper screw. Hey, happy days. So let's keep going. Here's about the only tricky bit for these. On this fan motor, the fan motor comes up to here and goes into that fan, and then the shaft stops and it comes along here, and then there's a joining shaft right there. And if you look in there, see the screw? You got to undo that screw. That's what holds it all together. And the same for the motor up there. So that's about the only tricky bit. The rest of it basically falls apart. And once you've got the main assembly all pulled apart, then you're left with the copper aluminium radiator. And you need to, well, you can put it in like that if you really want to throw your money away, or you can try and strip it down a bit. And these pipes here, they'll be a combination of clean copper down here and let's call it contaminated copper. It'll have solder on it or something like that. So what I tend to do is I get the garden branch loppers, of all things. You could use a angle grinder with a cut-off wheel, or a hacksaw, or anything like that, but I tend to use these because it doesn't make dust and doesn't make noise. And I just kind of cut them off. I'll do one now, but I can't show you because I can't do it one-handed. So let's call it a condenser. I'm happy to call it a condenser. I'm sure it's not. It's probably the other thing, the evaporator. Anyway, look, you've got to get, for best price, you've got to get these bits of sheet steel off there. Otherwise, I'll give you a irony aluminium copper price, and they'll assume that most of it's iron. Yeah, because it's the way business works. So what I try and do is I try and chop these loops off, and these ones haven't got any type. These are just a loop, so you can just kind of, again, either do it with a hacksaw, I've done that before, or you can do it with the branch loppers if you want, or you can do it with a grinder, whatever takes your fancy. And this side here, as you can see, there's a soldered joint, you see. So I usually try and cut that just above there, in all this case. And hopefully this bit slips off. Sometimes it doesn't, sometimes it does, but yeah, if you can chop them off above there, and that way you get a clean bit of copper there, you get a clean bit of copper there. And yeah, copper, I'm assuming this stuff's pretty much the same price as Bare Bright, so let's call it about $11 a kilo at the moment. Might be $10.50, but yeah, it's worthwhile because your contaminated price is about 20% lower, if I remember rightly. So you're looking, instead of $11, you might be looking at $8.50, something like that, $8. Anyway, you try and get as much clean stuff as you can, as long as it's easy to get to, or if you're like that type of person, even if it's hard to get to. Anyway, I'm going to keep going. Well, how did we do with all that? I put in about an hour's work there, but I've still got to clean up. I've still got to clean up all the plastic crap, which is probably going to take me another 15 minutes to get that into the bin. I've got to break it up and fit it in the bins. But there's our clean copper. And brain stopped working just for a moment there, but clean copper, it's 10.50 a kilogram at the moment. There was 0.56 of a kilogram. So there's $5.88 there. And that doesn't include... Oh, there we go. Look at that. I'm kneeling down and about to fall over. So there's that bit. Then we had our dirty copper, I'll call it. It's copper that's got bits of solder on it. And dirty copper, look, I'm just taking a guess at the moment, but it's about $9.50 a kilo based on past experience and the current high rates. There was 0.25 a kilogram there, $2.37. I've lumped the transformers and the motors in together. And transformers last week were giving me $1.10 a kilo. There's 2.5 kilos there, $2.75. We've got our low-grade insulated copper wire there, and it's bringing in $3.95 a kilo at the moment. So there's 0.6 of a kilo and $2.37. And I'm going to call this little handful here second grade brass. So it's brass that's got contaminants on it. Even though that bit there is what they would call a bit of premium brass because it hasn't got any rubbish like solder or anything like that on it. But let's call it all the one thing. $6.55 a kilo, and there's 0.19 of a kilo, so $1.25 there, surprise, surprise. And finally, our, let's pick up the bit of paper, our 2 copper aluminium radiators. That's what they'd come under as a radiator. And my best guess at the moment, because I haven't traded any of these in for ages, is about $4.75 a kilo, I think. There's 3.6 kilograms there, so that's a very nice $17.10. And even if they were the price that I got for them last year, they'd still be about $14 worth there. But let's all be optimistic for a change and call it $17.10. And our total for that is $31.72. So that's not too bad for an hour and a quarter's work. Better than what I usually work on. Not too dirty, and yeah, fun, if you like that type of thing. Anyway, if you like that video, please subscribe, and hey, give it the thumbs up, and if you didn't like it, give it the thumbs down twice, and I'll see you next time. Bye.